Welcome to the PNFL. This week in the PNFL, I'm your host, Mark Hill, and right along with me is my sidekick, Mitch Graw. How you doing, Mitch?
Oh, fantastic. Ready to get the season started.
Yeah, as you see from my intro, I was a little bit rusty on that. I had to shake that rust off real quick and get it going.
I know. I thought maybe we had named our show twice.
Yeah, I know. I kind of thought about that. No, it's just that first season jitter. Got to get those bugs worked out. So, how have things been going with you during the off season?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. It's been good. Been good. I had a good draft. Felt good about that. Looking, for my week 2 game against San Francisco coming up. So, looking forward to the season.
Yep, same here, same here. So, I've been working on my plays. Actually started trying to do a couple little things different. Not gonna say too much because I got somebody I got to play this week that's been talking a little bit of trash, and we'll discuss that a little bit further down the road in the show. So,
I
but
don't even know who I play in week 1 because I'm looking at that San Francisco game in week 2.
oh, you already looking ahead? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Look ahead. Go ahead. Keep doing that. That's fine. Not a problem. Not a problem. Matter of fact, you guys, you can go ahead and place those bets early on. Make sure you put your money on the right team. So for me, I've been going through, went through the draft and trying to look at some things I can change on my team and going over the numbers from last season and seeing where my improvements can be made. So hopefully, I made some good changes, and we'll see what happens when the season kicks off. So, also in other news, there's been some major changes within the structure of the league. There's been some teams that have been moving from one division to another division, or from one conference to another conference. And there was, I thought there was only one or two teams that was going to have the moving trucks, but it seems like we had quite a few. Have four of them. What do
yeah.
you think?
A lot of shuffling in the off season. Which not a lot of new coaches, just new coaches or old coaches in new places, I should say.
Yeah. So, and let's start off. We can run down the line. So we had Kansas City, our last season. Kansas City was in the AFC West, and now they have relocated to Atlanta, and they are now in the NFC East. What do you think about that move, and what do you think they may do this season?
Well, like I said, I was sorry to see, Kansas City make that move. I mean, I always look forward to those 2 wins every year here in Oakland, but just kidding, just kidding. But
No, you're
no,
not. No, you're not.
I think hey, I think the change in divisions will do Coach Chambers well. I think he's excited to get over there with a couple of his longtime rivals, over there in the East. So we'll see. I think he definitely has been putting a lot of time in the laboratory, putting some plays together. So we'll see what happens.
Now, if I can pick on him as well, so if he was doing pretty well when he was over in the West or in the AFC, if he has more losses and he's gone over to the NFC, what does that say?
Uh, I don't know. I don't know, but when you look at the last time Coach Chambers was in Atlanta was back in the 2030 season. He was 4-12. Actually, he had during that stretch last time he was in Atlanta. His first year, he was 11-5. So, hey, we'll see what happens. His first year back in Atlanta, see if he can replicate his first year record his first time in Atlanta.
Okay, well, we will see how that plays out. So, next team, Cincinnati. They, if I do recall, they stayed in the AFC, but they have relocated to Denver. As Russell Wilson would say, Broncos Nation, let's ride.
Yeah, well, we see how well that's going in real life. But I think the Denver Broncos in the PNFL. Yeah. Here's the thing. Right now, they're a CPU led team. However, as we have learned in previous seasons, those CPU teams under the mentorship of Coach Jerry over there, we've seen some of those teams go to the Super Bowl for crying out loud. So the Denver's got some talent. They've got some new PPPs. I think they're going to be tough. I think they're going to be tough.
Yep, I agree too. So we gotta, and they happen to be in our division as well, so we can't be
I
sleeping on
know.
them. So
I
definitely cannot
know. I
sleep on
know.
them. Yep.
Yep.
So next team moving from the NFC over to the AFC was Philadelphia, and they relocated to Indianapolis. Oh, any comments on that?
No, I think they're going to be a surprise. I do. There's something about Coach Hoover that makes me think. I think that he's putting some time into his team. I think they're going to. I think they're going to surprise some people. I think they're going to surprise some people. I'm not saying they're going to win the East because the Jets already, they've already packed their bags for the playoffs. But I think Philadelphia is definitely going to give New England and Jacksonville some trouble there in that division.
Yes, I do believe so as well. Definitely, I can see them kicking up some dust over there. I don't know if I want to say they're going to give the Jets a run for their money, but I think that I think it'll be a little bit more interesting now than it was before. So definitely give them that. So
Yeah.
last team is Carolina, moving over to packing up the truck and moving to Anaheim.
Well, I think this move is going to energize their coach. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Coach Smith's brief time here before. I think he was with the Rams for a little bit, so I think this is going to energize him up a little bit more. So we'll see how it goes. But not same division, same roster. I think with another year, under the belt, and obviously we know he's been digging into his PPPs. I think he's going to have I think a good year.
Yep, I think so too. I think so too. You know, we all have that good expectation at the beginning of the season, so um, we'll see what happens. Well, you can't really tell after week one, but maybe so. But I think these new teams
Well, no,
being
after week one last year, I think you and Dean had Cincinnati in the Super Bowl. We saw how that went down.
yeah, I know they did hang some they hung some numbers on you. So, but I don't know what happened after that. I guess they I don't know just spent all their coin on the first week and that was
I
it.
guess so. I guess so.
Yeah. So moving on, we also recently had a draft. So our annual business as far as dealing with our draft. I think that you're more of a draft guru than myself. So let's do a quick rundown of all the draft grades and see what do you think about the different how everyone turned out. I mean, I know that there is a listing that's on the website that's posting everyone's draft grades from an A all the way down to an F. So let's kind of go through those and
Yeah.
get your opinion on it. Like I said, you're probably more experienced in the drafting in the PNFL than
Well,
me. So what do you think?
Well, this year I did do something a little bit different. So I did come up with a very special algorithm to help to create an overall draft board for the league. And so based on that, yeah, I did put some grades out there for our teams. And I think most folks have already seen this, but I will say Jerry, who obviously who is the main coach of Washington, but also was the I guess roster manager for Green Bay. I think he had eight drafts for both teams this
Hmm.
time around, and I really, I think what ended up creating, some of the teams that had grades A, like Washington, Green Bay. I have my team Oakland in there. Then you got the teams that I had graded as B's, like New York, New Orleans, Minnesota. A big part of that was based on, again, my calculations, and I know everybody's got a little bit different methodology and how y'all rate your players, and obviously some of y'all had to draft for need, not just based on best available. But I
Right.
think one of the things that really stood out, though, was the how some teams really draft or put a lot of stock into maybe one attribute, and put a lot of stock into potential that you know unfortunately might not ever be achieved. Especially because of the number of training camps you have to go through, and especially now that our anti-aging rules have changed, and more players are going to actually retire.
Yep.
Than than they would have in the past. I'm afraid some teams that maybe what I would consider major stretches in the first three rounds. Yep, they might have had the best player based on potential ratings, but by the time they get that player anywhere close to maxed out on their potential, they might only have 1 or 2 years before that player is going to be eligible for retirement. The anti-aging role
Right, and you got to
round.
come in with the roles just to keep them
Yeah,
around there a little bit longer after you worked so hard to get them to that
yeah.
point.
Yeah, and so that's the thing, and so that's what I try to put a little more stock into in my algorithm, was trying to balance out, the actual ratings versus potential versus the positions of impact, and that's where I saw some teams took what I consider big stretches based on potential, and then maybe one rating, such as speed. Granted, speed's important, but when teams are passing up players that maybe are a couple of points below in speed, but are maxed out in every other category or nearly every other category. Oh man, I think in a couple 3 seasons they're going to wish they had picked that other player, based on how these drafts are going. But anyway, good draft. Only took what, 2.5 days, which, I mean, that's the fastest draft that I've ever been involved in the league. So I would say that was probably the biggest plus out of the whole thing. So
Yeah, we definitely
we'll see
did
how it
keep
goes.
things. We definitely kept things moving quite a bit.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it helped that we had one coach with half the picks. So as
yeah,
long as
that's
he
what I
was,
was getting ready to say. How did Detroit have 21 picks and only ended up with a C plus rating?
well, it's because the rating scale I have for this was based on the average of the player, not say total accumulation of points, like say college football rankings, where you might have a team that recruited 30 players that were 3 stars. You add them up, and they might have outranked a team that maybe only recruited 24 stars. Well, I base my grades based more on the talent per player, and with Detroit, they had some really nice picks early on, but then
Mm-hmm.
later, I think, second, well, third, fourth, fifth round, they had a lot of what I consider stretches, or maybe they were drafting more um, for need, because they were trying to fill all their roster spots, and so
Mm-hmm.
their average per player based on my rating scale, kind of put them in the middle of the pack. So
Okay, yeah, a bunch of filler players, and I see where you're going with it because as they went further along, it kind of pulled those numbers down. That's where they ended up with that C
that's
plus
right.
rating. Okay.
That's right. Yeah, because I mean, Aiden Hutchinson. I mean, I think he's going to be a beast in this league. But when you have 10 other players, drafted in the fourth and fifth round. That's going to pull that rating
That's gonna
down a
pull
little
it
bit.
right
But
back down. So yeah, definitely. If those numbers would have been, or those picks would have been in the earlier rounds, they'd have a much
yeah,
higher rate. Okay, I see
right.
your
Yeah, if he'd
philosophy
had,
in that.
yeah, if he'd had 10, 15 picks in the first two rounds, it probably would have been in the top five. So,
Right. Okay. I see now. I see where you're going with that. That's good. That's good. So overall, we like I said, we had a good draft. And we'll see how these new players shake out. So, going on to the next item now, this is something that you worked on. And we talked about it pre show, and that was your position ratings. And can you go into that a little bit and kind of give us an example? And let's talk about the different positions and how each team, where their top players rank at, or how each team fares with the various positions on their teams.
yeah, yeah. So, obviously coming out of the draft, one of the fun things after the draft is training camp, right? We all love training camp. And so, using the fantastic FP Edit, program, I went and pulled together some scouting reports at the team level for each position. And I didn't do all the slots. I only did say the top four slots on each for each position, just to try to give us a little bit more of a look at this. But if I go down the list here, kind of position by position, when you look at the center position, Chicago looks to have the best tandem of centers out there, followed by San Francisco and Jacksonville. When you look at cornerbacks, which I know this is one of the top positions out in the league,
Yep.
again, Chicago. Tops my list of top cornerback groups in the league, followed by New Orleans, and then I've got my group, Oakland, there at number three on that piece. For defensive ends, here's that name again, Chicago at the top, with the top group of defensive ends, followed by Los Angeles and New Orleans.
Mm-hmm.
Los Angeles looks to have a pretty good defensive line because their defensive tackles, Los Angeles, I have them ranked number one, followed by the Jets, and then New Orleans. So New Orleans looks to have some talent on that defensive side of the ball, which is not a surprise since until last season. Coach Jerry was their lead, their team manager too, and we know how he loves defense.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's so fullback. Everyone's favorite position on the team. My Oakland Raiders, I have them as having the best fullback in the league. I'm like the only team that basically has a fullback, so I think that's by default. But anyway, guard. You look at that New York Giants, one of our better offensive teams. Leads the way as far as the best group of guards, followed by Oakland, and then the Jets. Halfback, San Francisco. Charlie's got a stable there of backs in San Francisco, followed by Los Angeles, and then my Raiders there, number three. Kicker, if nothing else, you can always say that San Francisco they got running backs and they got kickers. So San Francisco, top rated kicker, followed very closely by Los Angeles.
Okay.
Linebackers, the Jets have that top linebacker core, followed by Washington and then Minnesota, the Vikes out there. Punter, Green Bay, Oakland, New Orleans. Quarterback, granted, now remember, this is going to be, the top, in this case here, top two, three quarterbacks on the roster. So when you hear some of these names, you might go, what? Well, remember, if a team's backup ratings aren't nearly as high as their starters, it's going to
And
bring
it
this
pulls them
down,
down.
okay?
Yep.
Yeah, so on this, Denver has the number one quarterback group in the league, followed by the Giants, and then New Orleans. Yeah, that one might catch your by off a little bit.
Yeah, it kind of has me
Safety,
scratching my head, especially when you look at the
yeah,
Jets.
Yeah. Well, the Jets, they actually came in at number 11, but it's also calculating three of their quarterbacks.
Mm.
And obviously, we know Derek Carr is probably the best overall quarterback in the league, but then the backups,
Yeah,
out there.
that's where it falls
Yeah.
off.
Right. Safety, Jets, number one, Chicago, two, and the Giants, who surprisingly had the worst pass defense in the league last year, actually are number three when it comes to safety position.
So I guess that comes down to the coaches and their play calling and in plays.
Yeah. Or maybe if I look back on the defensive line, let's see, defensive line, well, defensive end, the Giants were kind of number seven and number 14 on defensive tackle. So kind of average on line, but definitely tops in the safety position. We kept coming down for tackles. Chicago, San Francisco, Green Bay are the top three there in the tackle positions.
Mm-hmm.
Tight end, San Francisco, the Jets, and Chicago. And then wide receivers, that other favorite
There,
position
yep,
for everybody.
yep.
Los Angeles, I have as the top group of wide receivers, followed by Chicago. And then here's a name you might not have expected, New Orleans,
Hmm.
the third highest thing. Now, what I'll say here, Mark, and I think, we've talked about this on the forum, so I don't think this is necessarily a surprise, but just to kind of give folks an idea of just how narrow the span of ratings are between these positions for team to team.
Right.
Los Angeles, like I said, they have, based on my calculation, the top four, the number one group of receivers in the league. And when you average out their total ratings based on my scale, it comes out to be 87.0. Okay.
Okay.
If I look at the number 18 team, which is the New York Giants, based on my calculations, they're at 86.03. So there is less than 1 point difference between the number one team in the league and their top four wide receivers and the number 18 team in the league and their top four receivers. Same thing kind of at cornerback. I go back at the top of my screen here. Chicago, who I have ranked as the number one group of cornerbacks, their average rating based on my scale is 84.01. Well, Denver, who I have rated as my worst group of cornerbacks, they're at 83.26. So I mean that's less. Well, I think that is 0.75. So it's less than a point. It's three-quarters of a point difference. So we're not talking like one team is you know the superstars, the other teams are a bunch of bums or
Right.
anything. But I mean there is
It's a
you
very
know
very small window, so
yeah.
the talent level is pretty much on par with each other.
Yeah, and so I think that's why myself and others have talked about we like the direction that we're going around creating some more bandwidth between these player ratings because, in my opinion, we should see a much larger gap between the best group of corners or the best group of wide receivers or linebackers, what have you, from between number one and number 18.
Mm.
And so I think we're definitely moving in that direction, but kind of looking at it from this angle really makes that stand out.
Yeah, definitely. From looking at that, it's a very very close window, and just probably hopefully as we go through and looking forward and talking with the commission, maybe we can look at next season for the draft. We can kind of open that up a little bit more to have that more that parity, so there's more range in there. Because just looking at the chart, you're saying, "Oh wow, this guy's number one, this guy's number 18." He's like, "Oh wait a minute, their averages are so tight."
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
so
And I think that would also impact some of these stats on some of these plays we're talking about too. Whereas if you've got 18 teams that are this closely, matched up with their defensive backs, well, you know, they're going to be able to. Everybody's going to be able to cover pretty good. So
yeah. So you got to make sure you set something to where a team has to work. It's like you got to draft. If you're getting burnt by this one receiver all the time, you got to go out and draft you a good cornerback or a good safety that can actually stop this guy.
right, Kind of like Green Bay when the Vikings drafted Randy Moss, right? They went and drafted, I think, like 6 defensive backs the next year. So
Yep, and he still cooked them.
he did. He
So,
did.
yeah, so he still cooked them. So, okay, so that's and also, guys, you'll see this on your screen. So the same chart that we have that Mitch used, you'll be able to take a look at those numbers, and definitely you'll see how close those numbers are from one to the other. So, moving on to our next topic. The next one we're looking at is our annual, I guess you would call it our annual ritual or house cleaning, where we go through and we clean out the plays in your play folder before we go into the next season. So if you guys have not done that, the best way to do it is just what I do on my end. At the end of every season, I take the playbooks that we use for that season. I'll zip those up. I put them in an archive folder that says 2040 plays, and then we download the brand new plays off the website. There have been some changes that have been made to the plays. I believe there were several plays that were, I think it was a ton of them that were deleted, that were no longer being used. I know there was some discussions and conversations about that, but because the game may have a limitation on how many plays that can be sitting in the folder, but the plays aren't being used and they've been sitting in there 10, 15, 20 seasons. Why are we still carrying them around? So those have been purged out. There's also been some changes as far as the logic on the game that the commission made. So he had some plays in there. He just changed them up a little bit. So before you guys submit your plays, you might want to go ahead and just throw that old playbook out, archive it, whatever. Do the easiest way is just download the brand new fresh set of plays and put them in the folder and go with that, because one of the things Commish talks about is like the first couple weeks he's getting plays or getting your plans and profiles where plays are missing or plays that don't meet the logic to the new rule changes. So you definitely have to go through and do a little bit of I would call it house cleaning. Would you say the same, Mitch?
Yeah, just got to make sure everything connects, all the paths are right, and probably this year more than ever, making
Yeah.
sure you don't have some of those old plays still in there in those folders. So definitely deleting the old folders, downloading the new from a website. I think is definitely the best way to go.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. So just a little bit of housekeeping there for your annual pilgrimage, your annual duty. So last topic for this show. Here we go with the big stuff. We are looking at this upcoming game, the games for week 1. Before we go into that, Kamish has stated that all your plays and profiles have to be turned in, I guess is by midnight. Is it midnight Eastern or midnight Pacific?
I think it's
On
midnight
Saturdays.
Eastern because I think it's Eastern because he likes to get those played before he goes to bed on Saturday night.
Okay, so you guys have until midnight Eastern time, 9 o'clock Pacific time to get your plays and everything turned in to the commish. If not, I'm assuming he is going to throw a real basic crappy playbook in there for you guys to run off of.
Well, that I think you get the standard stock PPP and $100 fine. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Yeah, so you don't want that. And I know we did that last season. We got all the games in time. There was nothing that was ran on Sunday. Everything was ran on Saturday, which was nice. You could see all the results. And let's just try to keep that flow going, for the commish, because he does a lot of good stuff for us. So let's try to make his life a little bit easier. So, okay, let's go into the first week's games. And I think we can add these up. I kind of mention the names of the teams and then what the lines are for that. So the first game is going to be the Redskins versus the Lions, 9.5. What do you think is going to happen, or how it's going to go? Because I think towards the end of last season, Lions are playing some good ball, and so are the Redskins. But right now they're considered 9.5. What do you think about that?
Well, I think I was recorded by saying Jerry isn't going to lose three to the Lions. Well, he lost three to the Lions last
Yeah.
year. But he will not lose four to the Lions. No, I think Redskins win. I do. I think the Redskins win. I think they will not cover. So I think the Lions will make this a close game. I think the Lions are gonna. I think Coach Bloomer is reinvigorated with this new team he has, but there's a lot of young players on that team, so we'll see how things move along. But it's always an entertaining game between those two.
I'm gonna go for the upset. I think the Lions are gonna do it again. I think it's gonna be. I think they're gonna come with something new out the bag with new plays, new profiles, and I think they're gonna make it 4 in a row. Hey, I got it. I got to be the upsetter. Come with pull something out of my backside every once in a while. So
I got
next game, 49ers at the Cardinals. Cardinals are 13.5. I will say Cardinals off the top. Good team. I know that they reloaded quite well. I think that they will pick up where they left off. I mean, I just nothing else you can say.
Yeah, I think similar to the Redskins and Lions. I think the Cardinals win 13 and a half. I mean, can I see them winning by more than 13 and a half? Yes.
Yeah.
Do I think Charlie is, you know, I think there are certain games that certain coaches really zero in on, and I think Charlie really zeroes in when he plays the Cardinals. So I think Cardinals win, but I think it's going to be by less than 13 and a half.
Mm, I said originally 13.5, maybe 10,
Yeah,
maybe 10, a little bit
yeah,
closer. Not
yeah.
by much, but a little bit closer.
I mean, San Francisco has the best kicker in the league, so I
That
mean, you
kicker
can
doesn't
never
play
count him
offense
out,
and
right?
defense.
That's what-
Comes
But
out.
it'll be fun to see though how San Francisco starts this season because I think if you remember last year they started the year I believe 6-2
Yep,
and looked like they were really on their way
they're on a roll.
to a playoff berth and then ended up missing the playoffs to Green Bay. So we'll see.
Yep, definitely. Next game, Rams and Falcons. Um, the Falcons, is that that's who's is that
That's
that's
former Kansas City. That's former Kansas City.
okay, and that is the open team. Uh,
No, 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 no. They're
no, that
not
one is
open.
coached. That's right, that one is coached.
Right. Yeah.
Um, 3.5. Hmm. I have to look at the stats on dig into this a little bit deeper.
So
I
just think about playing Kansas City twice the last three seasons. How do you think they're going to do?
Rams.
Just because I know it aggravates them, I'm
Yeah,
going to go with the Rams too.
yeah, Rams. Just kind of that's what you get for leaving our division.
That's right. That's right. I have no basis on this other than I like to aggravate Dean, so I'm
There
going
you
with the
go.
Rams.
That's right, Dean. So that's for leaving our division. That's what you get. So Saints and Giants, 4.5, going towards the Giants. Where do you see that? Where do you sit on this one?
Well, the Giants absolutely roasted the Saints last year,
Yes, they
31
did.
nothing.
Yes, they did.
But that was like the only game the Giants played defense in too, if I remember correctly. So I'm going with the Giants because I know that if nothing else, they seem to be able to find a way to score. And I know that was a struggle for New Orleans last year was putting up points, but I mean, as we're looking, granted those rating spreads are not big, but New Orleans looks like they have some talent on the offensive side. So, maybe Coach Perez has made a few tweaks to that profile and is going to find a way to score this year.
I think I agree with you that I'm going to go with the Giants. 4.5. I think it's going to be closer than that. I think that the Saints will try to fix their mistakes or they'll fix some of those holes they had last season, and it'll be a much closer game than the 4.5.
Yeah, I think it'll be. Here's the thing. I don't think it's going to be a 31-point game like
No, I
last year.
don't think it's going to be a 31-point game at all.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
thinking maybe more like 2 points, somewhere
yeah,
around there, 2.5, maybe 3 points. So a
yeah,
little bit
yeah,
closer.
yeah, yeah.
Um, no brainer. Colts and Jets. Jets by 14.5. Jets.
Jets will win. Jets
Yes.
will win. Honestly, I don't know what the score or the spread will be there.
I don't know.
Maybe my gut. I just think the Colts are going to surprise. Now they're not going to surprise enough to beat the Jets, but I really think the Colts are going to be um, a surprise this year. I don't know. I could end up being completely wrong, but Jets win. I think it's going to be by double digits, more like 10 to 12 versus 14.
Well, I remember you mentioned last season when we was looking at the games last season that some of their games was much closer than what we thought it was going to be, and
Yes, I mean they lost games because they had a block punt, I think, in the end zone.
yep.
They had, I mean, there was all the. Here's the thing: they had all kinds of funky last minute, screwball losses. I mean, I know they beat me in week 7 to whatever 16, and I mean I was actually trying to win that game to get win that division. Like I said, I think the Colts are they're going to be a thorn in some teams' sides this year. But we'll see.
I think so too. We'll see. Well, um, yeah, week one will definitely let us know. I think that they could give them a run for their money, but I still say it's going to be the Jets. I don't know what the spread's going to be, but definitely picking the Jets. So,
Yeah.
Patriots and Packers. Hmm.
Well,
Mm,
this is one here that is going to be interesting for one particular reason. Is that the Packers, even though he has not officially announced himself, um, has a human coach. Now, this human coach is inexperienced in FB Pro League play. So, but that being said, the Patriots should win this game. Now, I think it will be by over 2.5. But we will see. But I think the Patriots win. Definitely, we're going to win this game. Should win it by more than 2.5. But you never know these days how things are go. But that's the one I know. That's my inside scoop here on that Patriots Packers game.
I think the Patriots will probably win as well. I think last season he had a lot of stuff going on that outside, so I think it kind of bled into his coaching and play calling. I think he's going to come up with some much better game plans this season, and I think Coach Moskin's gonna he should make some noise this season. You know. I'm not going to say he's going to take out the Jets, but I think he's going to make some noise this season and put up some good numbers. And I'll give him this game 2.5. I think that'd be fair enough. 2.5.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
Jaguars and Vikings. Oh, they're giving it to the Vikings by 6.5. Um, I played both of these teams last season. Jacksonville definitely shocked me. Um, I think I'm gonna go for the upset, and I think I'm going for Jacksonville this time.
Vikings all the way. I think Barney's back. I know when he's on, that team is really good, and so I'm taking the Vikings and the 6.5 there.
Well, if you think about too, Jacksonville, nobody thought Jacksonville was going to do anything last season, and they shocked everybody else. So I think that he's saying, okay, keep me under the radar for a little while.
Yeah,
After a while, we'll figure it out. You remember what happened out in the Pacific Northwest? Everybody thought it was under, that team in the Pacific Northwest was under the radar, and the next thing you know, it's like, well, wait a minute, what's going on over there?
yeah,
So,
yeah. But the only thing with the Jaguars is that they got rid of Captain Kirk. I don't think he's on the roster now, so we'll see how that goes.
yeah, we'll see how it goes. Next, man up. We're gonna jump over to the Broncos and the Chargers. Um, that's a good number, Chargers. That is the Broncos is the open team.
Yeah,
I got it kind
yeah.
of mixed up. So, I'm looking at going with the Chargers right now. So, there is always that one sleeper team where you say, okay, there's not a coach there, but don't sleep on them. They can definitely surprise you.
Yeah, yeah. I tell you, um, j- just because I know he's going to be over preparing for this game,
Yep.
I'm going to say the Broncos win this. I think the Broncos win this game. I think Steve's going to be
Oh,
both. It's going to be. He's going to try to come out hot. He's going to over prepare against this open PPP, and I think he's going to overthink some things, and he's going to lose by a score.
oh, oh, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt. I got it. Hey, I got my faith in the Chargers. You guys got to do it. You got to do it. Because if you lose to an open team, oh, you're gonna hear it from us next week.
Hey, it's happened to me before where I
It's
have
happened to me. It's
overplanned.
it's happened to me. So I know.
Honestly, I hate playing open teams. Even though you get the PPPs, for some reason, I will overthink, I will tweak, and next thing you know, I mean, it's just a disaster. I think I've lost to an open team probably once a season for the last few years
Yeah, I
because
think there
of
was
that.
one. I think it was one year. I think
Yeah,
I lost two or three of them, but
yeah,
my planning and strategy wasn't even where it needed to be. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So and heading up the last game, so we're going from independent minded, as good host and co-host to
Uh,
rivals now.
yeah.
You're gonna get dunked on this week. Seahawks and the Raiders. They're giving the Raiders 9.5. I can tell you right now, it ain't gonna be 9.5. It's not.
Well, that is one thing we're agreeing on. It's not going to be 9.5 because it's probably going to be more like 15 or 16
For the
in favor
Seahawks,
of the
yeah, I
Raiders.
know, I know,
The
Seahawks.
Raiders.
Well, I mean, don't put yourself down so far. I mean, I'm not going to beat you by 15, okay? But
Yeah,
I understand that you're scared. I mean, you're scared of the Hawks. I get that,
yeah, yeah,
But I mean, and that's generous of you saying that I'm going to beat you by 14 or 15. But I
yeah.
think the game. I think our game will be much closer than that. I know
Well,
Seattle's going to win, but it's
yeah.
not going to be by 14 or 15 points.
Well, as long as I can keep it, within 49, I'll be better than I was last year to start the season. But golly, man, I tell you what, so you lose a game 49-0 in week one, that can really screw up your point differential for the season.
Yes,
But
yeah,
it's but no, I'm looking forward to this. We split last year. They were two hard fought games.
yep.
Of course, I think I'm gonna have a game plan that'll win this thing, but I think it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to see what Seattle looks like this year.
Yeah, we may have a couple new little wrinkles in there, a couple little things to throw at you. I think the
Yeah,
first game was what 6-9 was a field goal game, and I think the second one I think you won by a touchdown. So it was
yeah.
and I think it
Well,
was
I just remember that first game that we played. I just remember thinking, why in the world is my quarterback get tackled every time he goes to hand the ball off? And that's when and that's when the discovery of the slasher plays came about.
yep, yep.
I'm like, why in the world does my quarterback take the snap and get tackled? Oh, because every other play is a slasher.
It's
But
just going in there. Yep. So I was like, yeah, those. Yeah, we're no longer using those.
yeah, yeah. So I've been practicing my handoffs quite a bit this off season, so I think I'll be ready for it.
We will.
Oh,
We shall see. We shall see. So, as we come to wrap this show up, I'd like to say, for you guys, for the new coaches, hey, welcome to the league. For the rest of the coaches in the league, I know you guys are chomping at the bit, just like we are over here, and definitely looking forward to the kickoff of this weekend. So, best of luck to you guys. And Mitch, you want to send this on out the door?
hey man, let's go. Let's get it.